Okay, buckle up because this deep dive is about to get seriously next level. We're talking about AI innovations that sound like they're ripped straight from the pages of a sci-fi novel.
Yeah.
But trust me, this is the real deal. We're diving into AI that's not just smarter, but faster, closer to home than you might imagine, and with the potential to completely shake up the world as we know it.
And what's really exciting is that it's not just about the gee whiz factor, though there's certainly plenty of that too. It's about the doors this new wave of AI is opening in research in our daily lives, even in how we understand the human brain itself.
It's like we're on the verge of a whole new era, right? So to kick things off, let's jump right into the deep end with NVIDIA. They've been making waves with their Nematron 4, and the buzz is all about its off-the-charts performance. But I have to ask, what does that actually mean for everyday folks like you and me?
Imagine this Nematron 4 has the power to analyze the shapes and how millions upon millions of molecules interact with each other, and it can do it in a fraction of the time it took previous models. What we're talking about here is the potential to fast-forward drug discovery to find cures for diseases that have stumped even the brightest minds in research.
So instead of years or decades, we're talking about months, maybe even weeks, to make these kinds of breakthroughs. If you really stop and think about the impact, that's mind-blowing.
And it doesn't stop with healthcare either. Let's talk material science for a second. Imagine developing entirely new substances with properties we can barely even dream up right now, all thanks to Nematron 4's ability to crunch through mountains of data and spot those hidden patterns we humans might miss.
So we're talking lighter but way stronger building materials, more efficient solar panels, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. Because Nematron 4 can process information crazy fast, it can analyze real-time data from those self-driving cars we keep hearing about. It can make split-second decisions that are crucial for making autonomous vehicles safer for everyone on the road.
So no more fender benders because someone slammed on their brakes out of nowhere. Sign me up for that. But I have to admit, all this talk about super fast AI processing power has me a little curious. Are there any downsides? Should we be concerned about having so much power at our fingertips?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We all know with great power comes great responsibility, and AI is no different. It's absolutely crucial that we develop things like Nematron 4 responsibly and ethically.
Totally agree. It's like that old saying, with great power. But on a lighter note, let's switch gears for a second, talk about something a little less ominous, something that hits closer to home, literally. I'm talking about Mistral AI and their work on bringing the power of AI directly to our devices.
This is where things start to get really interesting. Mistral AI is developing something they call Luministro, and these are AI models designed to run on your phone, your laptop, heck, even your smart toaster, without ever needing to connect to the cloud.
Hold on a sec. AI in my toaster. What's it going to do? Make sure my bagel is toasted to perfection.
You laugh, but think about it. You're in a foreign country starving and can't read the menu or the road signs. With Mistral AI's technology, you can translate anything instantly, even without internet access.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. No more frantically searching for Wi-Fi while I'm lost and starving.
Yeah.
But beyond just convenience, what's the big deal here?
It all comes down to privacy. With the typical cloud-based AI, your data, your photos, your search history, even your voice recordings, all of it gets uploaded to these massive data centers for processing. But with Mistral AI, everything stays safe and sound on your own device.
So no more worrying about some faceless corporation having access to my entire digital life. That alone is a game changer in my book.
Absolutely. And because your data isn't traveling back and forth to a data center, you get faster processing speeds too. Plus, it's way more energy efficient, which is a win for your battery life and the environment.
Okay, so it's faster, more private, more efficient, almost too good to be true, right? Are there any trade-offs we should be aware of?
One potential concern is that if everything stays local, we might be limiting the AI's ability to learn and improve over time. I mean, traditional AI models get really good because they feed off these massive data sets collected from tons of users.
So how does Mistral AI get around that? How do they make sure their AI can still learn and grow if it's stuck on our devices?
That's where the real magic happens. They're pioneers in this technique called federated learning. Instead of your data going to a central server, your device uses your data to train its own tiny AI model.
So my phone is like a little AI boot camp, training up its own mini AI soldier.
Exactly. And get this, instead of sharing your actual data, your device only sends encrypted updates about what the AI model has learned, basically the key takeaways to a central server.
So it's like sharing the cheat sheet without giving away all the answers.
You got it. The central server then combines those learnings from countless devices to create a smarter, stronger global AI model. That means the AI gets smarter, but your personal data never leaves your device. Talk about a win-win. Well, it's not about unleashing a robot army like something out of a movie, at least not that I'm aware of. The real goal is a lot more practical than that.
Okay, you've got me curious. More practical than world domination, huh?
You got it.
Yeah.
Think about those really dangerous jobs, the ones where humans really shouldn't be in the thick of it, like disaster relief, searching hazardous environments, even some kinds of factory work. These robots are being designed to go where we can't, or more importantly, shouldn't, keeping people safe.
So like robotic first responders or firefighters. That's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Exactly. And because we're talking serious AI here, these robots aren't just following pre-programmed routines. They can learn on the fly, adapt to whatever's happening around them in real time. That makes them way more versatile and effective than old school robots.
So no more rigid programming. These robots can basically think on their feet.
You got it. They can size up a situation, spot potential dangers, and actually make judgment calls based on what's going on around them. And here's the really wild part. They can learn from their own mistakes, too, getting better over time.
That's both impressive and, I have to say, a tiny bit unnerving. But let's switch gears for a second, talk about something that's probably less likely to fuel any robot apocalypse nightmares. I'm really interested in how all this AI stuff is changing other industries. What about education? Any big developments there?
Education is actually really interesting because we're starting to see some really cool applications pop up. Think personalized learning. Imagine AI tutors that can figure out a student's learning style, how fast they pick things up, and then create custom lessons and give super specific feedback. No more one-size-fits-all approach.
It's like every student gets their own personal tutor tailored just for them.
Precisely. And it's not just about the students either. AI can take over some of the more tedious tasks for teachers like grading papers. That frees them up to spend more time actually interacting with their students and providing real mentorship.
Sounds like a win-win for everyone involved. But what
Yeah.
about those of us who are more, shall we say, creatively inclined?
Hmm.
How is AI shaking things up in the arts, music, entertainment?
That's where things get really wild. We're already seeing AI being used to create amazing art pieces, compose original music, not just mashing stuff together, and even write whole scripts for movies and TV.
Wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me AI is coming for my job?
Not at all. Think of AI as a brand new set of tools for your creative toolbox, not as some kind of replacement for human artists. It's about using AI to explore new ideas, experiment with styles, even push those creative boundaries further than we ever thought possible.
So it's more about the two working together like a partnership rather than one replacing the other.
Exactly. It's all about taking human creativity and then cranking it up to 11 with the power of AI. For example, imagine a musician using AI to brainstorm different melodies and harmonies. Then they can take those building blocks and arrange them into a final piece that's totally unique and their own.
Yeah, that's a cool way to look at it. What about the bigger picture, the whole entertainment industry? How is AI changing the game there?
Well, for starters, AI is already being used to create those hyper-personalized recommendations, those you might also like, suggestions for movies, TV shows, music, that kind of thing. It's all about helping you discover new stuff that you might not have found otherwise.
Okay, I'll admit it. Those recommendation algorithms get me every time. But what else is cooking? What's next on the AI entertainment menu?
Imagine this, AI-powered video editing tools that can basically edit footage on the fly, add in special effects, even create those crazy realistic CGI characters we see in movies nowadays. This kind of technology could completely change how movies and TV shows get made. High-quality productions wouldn't be limited to those big studios anymore.
Now that's what I call a game changer. And I'm guessing AI is making its mark on video games too, right?
Oh, absolutely. AI is already being used to create those super realistic opponents that can actually challenge even hardcore gamers. And then there's the whole world of immersive, interactive, virtual reality experiences that AI is helping to build. It's like stepping into a whole new world.
It sounds like AI is about to give the entertainment industry a complete makeover from top to bottom. But with all this talk about what AI can do, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the ethical stuff. What are some of the concerns we should be thinking about as AI becomes more and more a part of our lives?
One of the biggest concerns, and it's a big one, is bias. Here's the thing. AI systems are trained on these massive data sets, right? And if those data sets aren't neutral, if they reflect the biases that already exist in our world, well, the AI will just end up spinning those biases right back out and sometimes even amplifying them.
So, for example, if an AI system learns from a bunch of job applications, and most of those applications are from men, It might end up favoring male applicants in the future.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to make sure those data sets used to train AI are as diverse and representative as we can possibly make them. We need to be really careful about what we're feeding these systems, and we need to actively work to fix those biases.
That makes a lot of sense. Are there any other ethical issues we should be thinking about?
Privacy is another big one. As AI gets smarter and starts collecting and analyzing more and more data about us, it's becoming more and more crucial to set some ground rules, some really clear guidelines and regulations about data privacy and how to keep that information safe. We have to make sure our personal information is being used responsibly and ethically, and not just for someone else's profit.
Those are really important points to keep in mind. It seems like every time we make a giant leap forward with AI, we also need to take a step back and really think about the ethical side of things.
I couldn't agree more. It's a tightrope walk for sure. We need to embrace the incredible potential of AI, but we can't forget to be cautious about the risks and the challenges that come along with it.
Well said. Now, earlier we were talking about Mistral AI and their thing with bringing AI right to our devices. You mentioned something called federated learning as a way to address these privacy concerns. But I have to admit, I'm not sure I totally get it.
Think of it like this. It's a massive brainstorming session, but instead of everyone being in the same room, each device is contributing its own ideas without ever giving away the whole picture. Instead of your personal data being sent to some central server, your device keeps it safe and sound and uses it to train its own little version of the AI model. It's like each device has its own personal AI student learning and getting better based on how you use it.
Okay, so it's like my phone is a mini AI academy, training up its own little AI protege.
Precisely. And here's a really cool part. Instead of sharing all your raw data, which would be a privacy nightmare, your device just sends these little encrypted updates about what the AI model is learning. Basically, the key takeaways, like sending a postcard instead of your entire diary.
That's a great way to put it. So the central server is like a collector of all these AI insights, gathering knowledge from millions of devices without ever actually seeing our personal stuff. It sounds like a total win-win. AI gets smarter, we keep our privacy. What's not to love?
You nailed it. Federated learning is a game changer because it lets us tap into this huge well of collective intelligence without putting anyone's privacy at risk. It's a perfect example of how we can develop and use AI in a way that's both innovative and ethical.
That's amazing. It sounds like federated learning could be the key to unlocking AI's full potential, but in a way that addresses a lot of the ethical questions people have been raising.
Absolutely. It just goes to show how much brain power and dedication is going into creating AI solutions that are both powerful and responsible. And that's something to be excited about.
Speaking of powerful and responsible, what about those AI-powered humanoids we were talking about earlier, the ones from Boston Dynamics and Toyota? We talked about them being used for dangerous jobs, but it got me thinking, how likely is it that these robots will eventually become a bigger part of everyday life? Will we be dodging them on the sidewalk or inviting them over for dinner anytime soon?
Now, there's a question that gets people fired up. It's both exciting and a little scary, isn't it? We're probably not going to be having tea parties with robots tomorrow or anything. But the idea that they could become more common isn't as crazy as it might sound, especially when you think about how far robotics and AI have come in such a short time. The pace of innovation these days is unbelievable.
It's true. It feels like we're living in a sci-fi movie sometimes.
Exactly. So sure, we might not have robot butlers serving us breakfast in bed in the next couple of years, but it's not totally out there to imagine a future where AI robots help us out with everyday tasks, keep us company, or even enhance what we're already capable of doing in ways we haven't even dreamed up yet.
Now that's a future with a lot of potential. But just like with any kind of major tech leap, we have to make sure we're approaching this thoughtfully and responsibly. We need to be thinking about what it means for everyone, not just a select few.
100% agreed. This isn't a conversation that should happen just behind closed doors in some lab somewhere. It needs input from scientists and engineers, sure, but also from ethicists, the people who make the rules, and the public. The future of AI isn't a one-size-fits-all deal. It's something we're all figuring out as we go.
Well said. Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into the world of AI, I'm curious, what are your own personal thoughts on all this? What gets you most excited about the future of AI and what keeps you up at night?
You know, it really blows my mind. The sheer potential of it all. AI has the power to change the game in every part of our lives, from how we approach healthcare and education to the way we entertain ourselves and everything in between. It has the potential to solve some of those big problems that have been plaguing us for centuries and open doors we didn't even know existed.
I'm with you on that. The potential benefits are incredible.
But as they say, with great power. We have to be really careful how we develop and use AI. We have to make sure it lines up with our values, that it respects our right to privacy, and that it benefits everyone, not just a select
It's
few.
like we're standing on the edge of something massive, right? Like all this potential is just waiting to explode.
And the really wild part is we actually get to make choices that shape where it goes, what it all means for us.
We're not just along for the ride, we're actually helping to steer the ship.
I like that analogy because it highlights why these conversations are so important. AI can seem really intimidating, even scary sometimes. But it's not some mysterious force out there. It's lines of code, it's data choices made by real people.
So it's like AI is holding up a mirror to humanity, showing us the good, the bad, and everything in between.
Now you're getting it.
That-
And that reflection should make us stop and think for a second. Are we building systems that are going to amplify those not so great parts of ourselves, or can we actually use this technology to build a better future? It's a question we can't just brush aside.
Absolutely not.
Mm.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of AI, what's the one big takeaway you hope our listeners will walk away with?
That they have a voice in all of this. It's easy to just sit back and be amazed by the cool factor, but we all need to be a part of the conversation about AI's impact on our world. So ask questions, stay curious, stay informed, and never forget that the future isn't set in stone. It's something we're all creating together right now.
You said it. Well, listeners, we've covered a ton of ground today, from AI that could revolutionize medicine to robots lending a helping hand and the whole ethical minefield that comes with integrating AI into our lives.
It's a lot to wrap your head around, no doubt about it, but that's just the nature of this beast. It's constantly moving, changing, evolving, and it requires all of us to stay curious, keep asking those tough questions, never stop learning.
So as you go about your day, take a second to notice all those AI-powered tools and technologies that are already weaving themselves into the fabric of our world. Ask yourself who's benefiting, what it all really means, and what might be coming down the road.
Don't be afraid to dig a little deeper, figure out how things work, why they were designed that way. The more we understand about AI, the better equipped we'll be to navigate its impact on our lives.
Knowledge is power, and that's never been truer than it is today in the age of AI. Well, on that note, it's time for us to power down for today. This has been The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those minds wide open.
See you in the next deep dive.